Hey, what is up? My name is Catherine and welcome to my channel. I'm super excited for today's video. I'm doing something that I've never done before and I'm not really sure if it's like even been done on YouTube at all before. So I'm going to be doing eye swatches of the Colourpop Just My Luck palette. So I know eye swatches are a trend that has been really popular lately because people care more about how shadows will form on the eye than they do just like as a little stripe on the arm. Who would have thought? But I'm not just doing any eye swatches, I'm doing macro eye swatches. I'm so excited. I checked out a macro lens from my school. I'm really lucky to be going to a school where I have all this super awesome equipment that I can check out, and I realized that I could be using this to really like amp up the quality of my videos and make them a little more unique. So we are going to be getting super up close today. I'm really excited about this. So the Colourpop Just My Luck palette is an all green palette, literally all green. There's this one like neutral-ish shade, but it's still a green based brown, which is so awesome. I love that they finally listened to what consumers really want and gave us a palette that we have just been begging for. It retails for $12. Colourpop does have a shipping minimum, or it's $6 shipping in the United States, but you can pretty much always get a code for $5 off of a $10 or more purchase as well. So just things to note about the overall cost of the palette. It has 5 matte shades and 4 shimmer shades, and I'm just really excited about it. So I've never done an eye swatch video before, so it's definitely not going to be perfect. If you have suggestions for how I can improve future eye swatch videos, if I choose to do future eye swatch videos, definitely let me know down below. I'm very open to suggestions. I do use eye primer for every single swatch. I use the Urban Decay Primer Potion. I never do eyeshadow without wearing eye primer, and I feel like it's a very universally known eye primer, so that's why I used that. I don't think there's anything else important. If you're new here, make sure you're subscribed. I post new videos twice a week, typically on Wednesdays and Sundays, except for when school gets in the way, which has been happening a little bit this semester. Really sorry about it. I will be posting a 2 or 3 looks, 1 palette with this palette on Sundays. If you'd like to see that as well, definitely make sure you're subscribed, and let's get started. I'm like a little stressed about showing my skin this up close, especially because I'm not going to be wearing any face makeup for these, and my eyebrows and everything, so just don't bully me, please. Thank you. So I'm starting out with the shade Chances Are, which is described on Colourpop's website as a matte fresh mint. So I'm first going to pack this on. This is a Wet n Wild crease brush. So that's just packed onto the lid. I'm actually surprised at how pigmented that shade is. Like, that's really surprising to me. Now I'm gonna just go ahead and blend this with a BH Cosmetics Studio Pro 16. I feel like this blends very nicely. I could definitely see this shade being used as a transition shade for a green look. I'm going to use those same brushes for the next shade. I'm just wiping them off on a little color switch. So the next shade is the shade Kiss My Hass, which is a matte spearmint. So again, that Wet n Wild brush to pack this onto the lid. That one does have a little bit of fallout, however, I always say I don't mind fallout as long as the pigmentation and blendability is there. So that definitely seemed nice and pigmented to me. And using that BH Cosmetics brush to blend that shade up into the crease. I definitely think that this one didn't blend as easily as the shade Chances Are. However, it is not as light as that shade, and I still feel that it blended very, very well for a bright color of this level of pigmentation. So these are those two shades swatched on the eye. This is Chances Are, and this is Kiss My Ass. Now we are moving on to our first shimmer shade, which is 50/50 and is described on Colourpop's website as being a metallic mossy green. So I'm just starting out with my finger. So that's one dip into 50/50 with my finger. And now I'm going to put this on with a wet brush. So this is the Real Techniques base shadow brush, and I sprayed it with a little bit of my CoverGirl setting spray. That's one layer of a wet brush. I kind of just want to put on a little more to see how much it builds up. So that is a super, super gorgeous shade. It definitely gets nice and foiled on the lid when you use a wet brush, but it's also just pretty swiped on with a finger as well. The next shade is the shade Big Banks, which is described as a metallic jade. So again, just going in with my finger at first. Wow. Big Banks is insanely metallic and foiled from just being swatched with a finger. Like, that is insanely stunning. I'm just going to use the other side of that Real Techniques brush to apply this wet to my lid. I'm super impressed with both of these shades, but that's no surprise at all to me because I have always loved Colourpop's shimmer formula. So just as a refresher, this is 50/50 and this is Big Banks. Big Banks really reminds me of one of the shimmers from the Melt Cosmetics Smoke Sessions palette. I don't know the names of the shades in that palette, but I was really drawn to that shade, and I'm very excited that this shade looks like that one because it's much cheaper. I have a little bit of green up in my eyebrows, just ignore that. The next shade is the shade Mary Jane, which is described as a metallic chartreuse. The name feels a little out of character for Colourpop, but maybe they are trying to pay a little bit of a tribute to the Smoke Sessions palette. I can tell you immediately from dipping my finger into it, this feels like a bit of a drier shimmer. So that's Mary Jane with just a finger swipe on the eye. It feels just a little more hard pressed. It did pull fine on the eye though, so I'm not too concerned about it. It did just feel like slightly chunkier, slightly firmer. Those are really gross words to use to describe an eyeshadow. For my brush, I'm using an AOA Studio E129. It's very similar to the Real Techniques brush. I'm still like trying to make it a pretty shade even though it's just an eye swatch. And I'm just going to see if I can build it up anymore just because. So texture wise, this one has big chunks of glitter in it. Other than that, it looks the same as I would expect a Colourpop shimmer to look. It just feels very different. Color-wise, I'm not sure if this is one that I'm going to reach for quite so often. Like, part of me looks at it and thinks highlighter, and part of it just kind of reminds me of like more gross things. So we'll see if I end up using this one. It is definitely a very unique shade, so shout out to Colourpop for making such a unique eyeshadow. The next shade is Olive You, which is a metallic olive. That's such a cute eyeshadow name. So that's with my finger. And now with the other side of that AOA Studio brush. I can't tell if this shade is less intense texture-wise than the other shimmers in this palette, or if it's just that it's next to such a vibrant eyeshadow that it seems less intense. Let me know what you guys think down below. I don't know if I'm as impressed with this shade as I am with Big Banks. I think Big Banks is the winner out of all the shimmers for me personally. But yeah, this is Mary Jane and this is Olive You. Alright, and the next shade is Act Natural, which is described as being a matte emerald shade. So I'm first going to pack this on with my e.l.f. C crease brush. This is honestly really pretty. It reminds me a little bit of the shade Conjure Up, which is one of Colourpop's singles that I own, but it's like a little darker and like a little more intense. It's very, very pretty. I'm now going to blend this upwards with a Lime Crime blending brush. This is not the type of shade I would normally just try to blend on its own, just a forewarning. I have no clue how this is gonna go. Yeah, this looks a little bit patchy blending out. However, I would just never put a shade like this directly on my eye and try to blend it without having anything else for it to blend into. I would at the bare minimum have a translucent powder, if not a lighter shade for it to blend into. So I'm not too bothered by that. I'm gonna see if I can just get it to be slightly less patchy. That's a little better. It's definitely a workable shade. I wouldn't use it for this purpose, and I think it looked so pretty packed onto the lid that I'm not pressed by it not blending well. I would likely pack this into my outer corner or use this as a lid shade in a dark smoky eye. So the next shade is Mo Bamba, which is described as a matte forest green. I'm not familiar with Mo Bamba the athlete. I don't know if he's like known to be a very lucky athlete or if they just named it this because of the song. I don't know. So I'm using the same brush and packing this onto the lid. That's also very pretty. I was expecting these shades to pull very similar on the eye, and I'm pleasantly surprised that they're more different. And just trying to blend this upwards, even though same deal, I wouldn't try to blend this without anything else there. I think this is the same deal as the other shade on my eye. It's a little patchy, but I just wouldn't try to blend it like this anyways. So, alright, so this is Act Natural and Mo Bamba. Alright, and I wiped off one eye because we only have one shade left, which is Charmed, and it is described as a matte khaki olive. So I'm first packing this on with a Wet n Wild brush. This is described as a blending brush, but it's very tiny, so it's more for like detail work in my opinion. Alright, and this is definitely very opaque. I'm just going to try to blend this out with my BH Cosmetics Studio Pro number 5. I'm going to be honest, I don't really care about this shade that much because I have plenty of dark browns in my palette, even though this one has a little bit of a green undertone. I'm not too pressed about it one way or another. This blends sort of how I'd expect. It's a more neutral shade, but it is still quite dark, so that makes it a little more difficult to blend with nothing else to blend it into. So on my eye I have Act Natural and Charmed. Alright you guys, that is it for the eye swatches. I am overall really impressed with this palette. I was a little bit worried about it because I wasn't the biggest fan of the purple palette that they released, surprisingly enough, but I really think that Colourpop did us right with this palette. Like, Colourpop didn't just give us the palette that we've been asking for, they made it really good quality and they kept it at their affordable price, so I'm really happy with that. I am really excited about this palette, especially because it's St. Patrick's Day and it came out just in time for St. Patrick's Day. So yeah, if you're excited about this palette, make sure you're subscribed. Like I said earlier, we'll be doing some looks with this palette, including the look that I have on my eyes right now. If you did like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you leave me a comment down below letting me know so I know to keep making videos like this. Thank you for watching. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!